I do want to touch on the school uniform issues that one of your MPs posted last night. Horrendous to think that school uniforms are costing up to $1,000. Parents have no choice, particularly if they're in a zoned area. And to make matters worse, you now got schools that have got a requirement for parents to buy branded socks. What on earth is going on here?
Yeah, I think she's making a really good point there. Laura McClure, one of ACT's MPs, she's based there in Christchurch, and she just made the point that it's actually extortion in a way, because if you're zoned for a school, you legally have to send your kid to school. You can only send them to that school, and you can only send them to that school if they have the branded socks. Now, that is almost a form of extortion, and there's suggestions you can imagine. Like when I went to a Decile 1 intermediate school, the rules were you had to have black shorts and you had to have a red or black polo shirt, but you didn't. So everyone had a uniform, but you could go down, and in those days there was a place called Decca, and I mean, I don't know what it cost in those times. I was a kid, but I'm guessing it was a lot cheaper than the propositions that we're hearing today. And I know there'll be people who say, yeah, but if you buy quality stuff, it lasts longer. It's false economy to buy the cheap stuff. Well, that may be true. But let's let the parents decide based on their circumstances rather than forcing one size fits all that many people struggle to afford.
You know what, when I read the comments last night from Laura, I thought to myself, this is the kind of stuff that matters. This is the stuff that matters to parents facing a cost of living crisis in this country right now. So what can you do to actually change this? I mean, this is strange stuff to even be speaking about it.
Well, I mean, it's worth just going back a few steps to, who makes the decision under what law? I mean, that's the question I always ask if I'm trying to help someone with a constituency issue. And at the moment, the decision maker is that the Board of Trustees can set the rules under the Education and Training Act. So one of two things has to happen. Either your Board of Trustees has to make different rules. And there's nothing to stop. I mean, a Board of Trustees can say, we're the governor of the school, we don't want to have any uniform, which, that's another controversy, but they do have that power. And they could stop stipulating such strict rules. So, we do actually have parent-driven, community-governed schools in this country. Whether or not they're being fully responsive or listening is another question, but they have that power legally. The second option is the government could, and this would take some time, but the government could decide to legislate and basically say, look, the Board of Trustees has the right to make these rules. However, when it comes to the setting of uniforms, you're allowed to specify generic categories of clothing, but not specific items. And if you do that, you introduce competition and you reduce price. So that is the kind of thing that I think Laura's getting to, and of course I'd completely support her to do that. It's just a matter of if you have to get a law through Parliament, that will take till at least the start of next year.
David, what are you doing for Waitangi Day, and what does it actually mean for you?
Well, I'm here in the Copthorne Waitangi, kind of at a
nice hotel,
Maori
actually.
Yeah, I'm at a sort of Maori Davos. I've just been to the breakfast hall with all the good and the great, and I was thinking, look at me, just a poor boy from Whangarei. But I'm going to be here for the Pōwhiri. We'll see how that goes. There'll be the usual hijinks, I'm sure. Go and see the Navy do the beat and retreat, which is a great tradition, signalling that at the end of the day, the Navy play a drum and that beat is when the Navy retreats. So it's a neat tradition. They've been doing that for 180 years or so. And then tomorrow there's the prayer for the nation. So I'll be here for the day and participating in the usual stuff. That's about it.
What I worry about, David, is I was fortunate enough to be in Sydney for Australia Day, and I attended the main concert along Sydney Harbour, and it was a magical experience. It really was. I even felt proud to be there, and I'm not even Australian, but I just thought to myself, what a shame that New Zealand doesn't share the same sentiment. Yes, there was acknowledgement of the past and the wrongs that have happened in Australia, but it was a real sense of pride. There were Australian flags everywhere, and I thought to myself, we don't see that in New Zealand, and I'll tell you who I blame. the media? Because for the last few days on One News, all I've seen is the history of Waitangi Day celebrations, if you can say that. It's been the dildo throwing, it's been the mudslinging, it's been the clothes that have been thrown at the late Queen. It's almost as if the media is anticipating or wanting that kind of drama. And I speak in a position of knowledge here because when I worked at TVNZ, that's all the newsroom wanted. When there was a sense of calmness and a sense of togetherness at Waitangi, the newsroom was bored and they were also upset at that. So what do we do to not make it an angry day?
Well, first of all, if you choose to watch One News, especially with the inside knowledge that you have, I think that's your problem.
Well, that's true.
No, look, I mean, it's a major issue. I think, in fairness, the media aren't there to lead; they're there to follow and report, and that's largely what they do with a bit of drama and overemphasis around the fringe. I think, as a country, we have a real crisis of confidence and identity. I saw recently the number of European New Zealanders who feel guilty for being here. I was talking to someone recently, their 5-year-old came home and said, "Mum, are we Maori?" And they said, "Well, no." And the kid said, "Can we become Maori?" And the mum said, well, no, that's not possible. And the kid was really upset, and they said, "Look, what's the problem?" And the kid said, "Oh, we won't have a home."
There's got to be a balance here, and the guilt thing I think does nobody any good. I do need to move on. I do want to discuss unemployment figures, David. The unemployment figures are out, but interestingly enough, for good old Christchurch, there are more jobs available than ever before. In fact, our unemployment rate went down over 1%, which is good news. I often wonder what we're doing right and what the rest of the country is doing wrong. But you've said, as a result of those figures nationally, that we can't afford more taxes or to take the country back, or words to that effect. And I wonder what you mean by that.
Well, what I mean by that is we're fighting our way out of a big hole. You know, we had inflation up at 7.2%. We had interest rates up high. And it's taken a long time to get out of that. Now, we are getting to the point where there's a lot of economic optimism out there, and we're getting to a point where I think we can be a bit more hopeful for 2026. And when you get economic optimism, people start investing and creating jobs, and unemployment goes down because there's demand from people spending. All of that is positive, but the thing that could really tip that up is the uncertainty of a change of government, or just the government changing in such a way that it starts borrowing and spending money, competing with households and businesses for resources. And when the government starts doing that, you destroy that confidence, you destroy the recovery, and then unemployment will be an even bigger problem.
David, just finally, in a couple of weeks' time, you're in Christchurch for the State of the Nation address. Give us a preview. In fact, if I was to ask you right now, what is the State of the Nation? What would you say?
The state of the nation is improving, but not fast enough. And that's why the ACT Party's goal this year is to keep this government in place, but also keep making it better. I'm going to be talking about what I regard as 5 issues that are that should be addressed in the election this year. I don't know if they will be, but we're going to try and make them issues. And that's the kind of telling it like it is honesty that the ACT Party promises. So if you're around on the 15th, please check out our website, buy a ticket, comes with breakfast or brunch, and it's going to be a good time.
Give me the one thing that concerns you the most right now that you want to fix.
Balancing the budget. If we can't do that, then we don't have much chance of solving our other problems.